In every story, there is a beginning, a moment of stillness before the inevitable storm. On this field, bathed in the first light of dawn, two sides gathered. They were not driven here by chance, but by destiny. An ancient rivalry, a score that had to be settled. On one side, 20 came with fury in their hearts, a tide of muscle and might, confident in their numbers. They believed the day was already won, that their sheer force would sweep away all opposition. On the other side, 10 stood their ground. They were fewer, a small band against a roaring wave. But as they watched the sun climb higher, painting the sky in hues of orange and gold, there was no fear in their eyes. Only a quiet, unshakable resolve. They knew this day would be a test, a battle for the ages. They were outnumbered, yes. The odds were stacked impossibly against them. The approaching force was a blur of shadows and growls, a promise of overwhelming power. Anyone watching would have said their cause was lost before it even began. But those who stood firm knew something the others did not. They knew that true strength isn't just about size or numbers. It's about the fire within, the spirit that refuses to be broken. They had trained for this. They had prepared for this moment their entire lives. Each flick of a tail, each sharpened glance, was a silent vow. They were not afraid. They were ready. The tension in the air was a physical thing, a crackling energy that hummed just beneath the surface. The world seemed to hold its breath, waiting. Silence. A profound, deafening silence fell over the field. The only sound was the frantic, rhythmic pounding of a heart, a drumbeat counting down to destiny. It was the final moment of peace, the last breath before the plunge. Every fiber of their being was alive, every sense heightened. The air grew heavy, charged with anticipation. The countdown began, not with a voice, but with a feeling, an unspoken understanding that the time had come. 3. The world narrowed to this single point in time. 2. Every memory, every hardship, every victory had led to this. 1. There was no turning back now. The line had been drawn. The charge was explosive. A sudden, chaotic symphony of motion and sound. It was a release of all the pent-up energy, a torrent of courage unleashed. They moved as one, a streak of grace and fury sprinting across the dew-kissed grass. They were a blur of motion, a force of nature against a fortified wall. The ground shook as the opposition braced for impact, their stance a testament to their power. The collision was inevitable, a moment frozen in time. Dust and earth erupted, thrown into the air like a veil, obscuring the initial chaos. It was a beautiful, terrifying dance of slow-motion poetry, where every movement was both a question and an answer. The battle had begun. Through the swirling clouds of dust and smoke, the clash was a spectacle of stylized action. Silhouettes moved with impossible speed and agility, a whirlwind of combat that defied belief. It was not a mindless brawl, but a strategic ballet of parries and lunges. In this crucible of conflict, true character is forged. Courage is not measured by the number of warriors you bring to the fight. It is not found in the loudness of your roar or the strength of your bite. It is measured by who remains standing when the fighting is done. It is measured by the will to endure, to push past the limits of pain and exhaustion, to fight for something more than just survival. It is measured by who remains. And when the dust settled, when the echoes of the clash faded into the quiet hum of the morning, a new light dawned. The golden rays of the sun cut through the haze, illuminating the field of battle. The silence returned, but this time it was different. It was not the tense quiet of anticipation, but the serene calm of resolution. The world had been remade. And in the center of it all, bathed in the triumphant, golden light, only two stood victorious. They had faced the impossible. They had defied the odds. They had proven that the heart of a champion beats not in the many, but in the few who dare to believe. Their legend was now written. Their story would be told.